Let's ask John Malkovich to continue this description of the character Valmont. Unscrupulous, possibly lecherous, highly intelligent, and yet also vulnerable. What else might you add to that?
Rich, spoiled, haunted.
Yeah.
And very childish.
Is it the haunted, childlike aspect of it that maybe drew you to the character more than the machinations of the man?
Probably, yeah.
Because somehow I sense watching you on screen with that part, that it's in the later part of the picture when you are wounded by your vulnerability to this woman. Somehow I sense this is maybe what John Malkovich has been watching for in this character, and this is our payoff now to this man.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I enjoyed really all of it. I like the relationship between Mertoy and Valmont. I mean, the sort of essential meanness of it and hideousness of it, and the sort of mocking superiority of other people's feelings is something I personally enjoy a great deal.
And such fine minds to be going in those particular directions.
Yeah. Well, Carlyle said that there's a dark spot following all of us. It is the shadow of ourselves. So
interesting too, because he was writing at a period of time not long after the writing of this novel and other classic novels of seduction like Clarissa. What is going on maybe in the tenor of the age of enlightenment that becomes so obsessed with seduction, I wonder? Is the popular novel already finding its primary subject, I wonder?
Well, it's funny, we were talking earlier about the fact that it's a really unerotic culture right now, and that's something I think people lose. And it's unerotic because it's unrepressed. I mean, very difficult to have sort of unrepressed eroticism. Because a lot of times if you think you can have it, you might not really want it so much.
And
perhaps.
Could we compare it to the tightening of the corsets and the swelling up of the flesh above the bodice? One is a consequence of the other, isn't it? Is there something about this kind of age that might hold a lesson for our day and age, where we pride ourselves on we're so upfront about who we are and how we love and what our motives are? This is an upfront age, and yet maybe it's just as deceitful as the late 18th century. Valmont and the Comte would never go onto a talk show, for example, and bare their souls, would they?
No, I don't think so. I doubt it. But I don't know that we're any less deceitful because we're probably no less confused. We just shut it out more, as I'm sure they did then. When the Marquise tells Valmont that he really is in love and he just can't admit it, and he sort of laughs it off. I don't think he goes off and broods about it necessarily until it's too late, until he realizes she's right.
There has to be a major component to the acting in this film having to do with costumes. Could you describe first the nature of putting on the costumes, the hose, the scarves? Was that an elaborate procedure that in a way helped you prepare for the character itself?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, of course, you always have a dresser and stuff, but most of the stuff when I do a film, I do myself. I mean, I can do all of that myself or so or whatever. But it's these kind of like weird long like pantaloon things that were their undergarments, and first hose, which at that time you had hose and garter, pantaloons, a chemise, which is our shirt today.
Not to mention the powders and the wigs.
And a waistcoat and a coat over that, pants over it. wigs, powdered wigs.
Because what happens to you once all of this has been affected? I mean, almost without learning your lines, you must be, in a way, already cast back into that century.
Yes, because the clothing so much dictates the way you move. I mean, one of the things is the arms and shoulders are sort of like incredibly tight, and they sort of pull you back. And the shoes make you move a certain way.
So you had to learn to move with the clothing, not against it.
Yeah, you can. I mean, if a woman is wearing one of those corsets, I mean, there are only certain ways they can move. Really, only certain ways they can do it.
And I'm thinking, too, that the calves swelling out under the hose, you're aware of your body in different ways wearing those clothes than we are now in loose-fitting clothes, don't you think? Is that an exciting thing for you to encounter a different world like that?
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. I mean, you know, of course we all feel at times we've seen about enough of this one, I would say. It's one of the great things about this job. You go off and you live very intensely for a period of time with a group of people, and you really explore a different world, different way of living and everything.
Finally, unless I'm greatly mistaken, it is rather unusual for you to do lots of interviews like this. What does this tell us, either about your opinion of the picture, or maybe where you are in your career now as a producer as well?
I don't think it necessarily says anything about my career, at least that I'm aware of. I mean, except maybe I'm in desperate trouble. But I really like this film.
Yeah.
I think it's not only really good, but I also think it's really entertaining. And I want to do what I can to ensure that people see it. Because it sounds sort of formal and foreboding, I think, a little bit. But it really isn't at all. I mean, it's very up to the minute, I would say.
Thank you very much.
My
John
pleasure.
Malkovich.
Thank you.
He is Valmont in Dangerous Liaisons. We're both here in Los Angeles. I'm John Tibbetts for KCTV 5.